insulin, for example. Our sugar levels are getting high. We need to break apart the sugar levels in our blood, and we need more insulin. Without getting into the details, there's a trigger mechanism. It basically opens up the inside of the nucleus in a very specific region inside the nucleus of DNA that basically says, we are going to make insulin. That's opened up. I won't get into the details of it. In order to make that insulin, you have to send a message from the nucleus of the cell to the cytoplasm of the cell. That message is what's known as RNA. So DNA stands for deoxynucleic acid. RNA stands for ribonucleic acid. Yeah, deoxyribonucleic acid. RNA is ribonucleic acid. So RNA is slightly different than DNA. There's only a few amino acids that are slightly different. That RNA message leaves the nucleus, go to the cytoplasm, and then you'll start making insulin. That insulin is then pumped out of the cell, and your blood sugar levels are then maintained. People who struggle from this, they don't have that ability, right? Which is why they need insulin shots. A virus more or less hijacks your cell in the sense that when we're going to lock and key, but it's able to basically inject its RNA into your cytoplasm. Well, your cytoplasm doesn't know the difference between your own RNA and a virus RNA because they're essentially made of the exact same amino acids. So it doesn't know the difference. So it will start replicating whatever that RNA is. It just so happens a virus's RNA is a copy of itself. So your cytoplasm starts making viruses.
Okay.
Huge amounts.
Take a sip of your beer and bring it back to coronavirus and tell me how this relates to coronavirus. Tell the people.
Well, it's just like any other virus. It's just like the flu. It's just like a cold.
Take a sip of your beer.
It's good beer. So what happens with the coronavirus is, people get it, unfortunately. Because it has recently jumped, a lot of people don't have, they're not immunized to this. Your white blood cells in your body don't recognize it, which is why the
Antibodies?
No.
Red blood cells?
Why everybody gets it. I'm drawing a complete blank.
It's so contagious?
Why? Thank you. Which is why it's so contagious, because no one's immune to it simply because the fact no one's had it before.
Right.
Also add to the fact that it can live out on open surfaces a little bit longer than the common flu, and it's a no-brainer that thing spreads really fast. The reason a common flu doesn't spread as fast is because in most cases, everybody's had the flu at some point in your life, which means there's a high probability that the strain that enters your body, you still get the virus in your body, but your body has seen it before, it recognizes it, and it attacks and kills it before it has a chance to replicate. COVID-19, no one's ever had it before. So anybody who gets it is immediately going to be infected by it. And just like the flu, it hijacks a cell, gets into your cytoplasm, replicates itself, and spreads like wildfire. So it basically is just it's another bug. It just so happens though that this bug is very efficient at spreading.
Yeah, very efficient at spreading. Okay, so we're not going to take up much more time, but just what are your thoughts on the whole hysteria behind it? I mean, it's mass hysteria.
Well, it still doesn't explain why everybody went out and bought toilet paper. But
no, it does not.
No, I think
Thank God we found some.
The data is pretty evident that when you compare it to the flu, it does spread faster, and particularly with the elderly, it does have a higher percentage of mortality. Thank you. So you need to recognize those things, but I also think you need to recognize that no one's talking about the fact in 2019 we actually had one of the highest death rates in the U.S. due to the flu. And the average flu just in the U.S. alone kills 30,000 people a year, right? And no one talks about it because it's the flu. Everyone gets the flu.
Like we just assume it's going to happen.
Everybody gets the flu. You could never do what's happening today. You could never do shelter in place and shut down airports and shut down some of the largest industries in the world because you're worried about the flu getting around. COVID is new and it's scary, but it's no different than when we had the swine flu. The difference is, actually I should say, is it is more lethal. However, to date, globally, it has still not killed more people than the flu does every year in the US alone. So the flu, on an annual basis, kills hundreds of thousands of people. In the US alone, it's averaged 30. Last I checked, COVID globally has killed 20.
Mm-hmm.
Again, pay attention to what the professionals are saying, but I think, there's a lot of people getting very, very scared because I don't think they really understand what's happening, right? They turn on the news, and the news immediately tells you that it's the apocalypse and that you're never going to come out of your house again, and everybody's going to lose power, water, and food, and anybody who's got guns and ammo wins, which is why Texas will be the last man standing. But
especially our household.
But that's not the reality of it. By the time this is all said and done, 80% of the population is going to have this. That's a really, really big number when you think about it. And if you look at what the government's trying to do, which is completely the right approach, is they're not trying to stop you from getting sick. They already know you're going to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
All they're trying to do is slow down the pace at which people get sick so you don't overwhelm the hospitals.
Exactly.
That's what all this is about. So for people out there who think, if I stay in my house, I'll never get it, that's not going to happen. You're eventually going to get it because eventually you have to leave your house, right? Some people don't. Okay, they're very rare. But in most cases, you eventually have to leave your house. And just like the flu, you'll eventually get this, right? And particularly, I know the younger generation seem to think it doesn't matter, right? That, if I get it, and blah, blah, blah. And in most cases, they're probably not going to be affected by it. Like we see kids who, and sometimes they don't even know they have it, right? But that's not the risk. It's where those kids spread that virus.
Mm-hmm.
If you give it to your grandpa or you give it to your parents, you risk them. And that's what's got everybody concerned. So in terms of the hysteria, pay attention to what you're doing. Don't give it to other people. Don't give it to your parents.
Yeah, just
But
don't
at the same time, don't go out and
house.
buy a bunch of damn toilet paper.
Right, or that. All right, so this is Layman's Terms with Levi, episode 1. And we hope to bring you a few more in the future. Bye, Levi.